Saint Augustine, Commentary on the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 1 to 16 following. Hence Pilate sought to release him. What is to be understood by the word here used, hence? As if he had not been seeking to do so before? Read what precedes, and you will find that he had already for some time been seeking to release Jesus. By the original word, therefore, we are to understand on this account, that is, for this reason, that he might not contract sin by slaying an innocent man who had been delivered into his hands, even though his sin would be less than that of the Jews who delivered him to be put to death. From thence, therefore, that is, for this reason, that he might not commit such a sin, he sought not now for the first time, but from the beginning, to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. Whosoever makes himself a king speaks against Caesar. They thought to inspire Pilate with greater fear by terrifying him about Caesar, in order that he might put Christ to death, than formerly when they said, We have the law, and by the law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. It was not their law, indeed, that impelled him through fear to the deed of murder, but rather it was his fear of the Son of God that held him back from the crime. But now he would not set Caesar, who was the author of his own power, at naught in the same way as the law of another nation. As yet, however, the evangelist proceeds to say, But when Pilate heard these sayings, he brought Jesus forth and sat down before the tribunal in a place that is called the Pavement. In Greek, lithostrotos, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation, in Greek, paraskeue, of the Passover, and about the 6th hour. The question at what hour the Lord was crucified, because of the testimony supplied by another evangelist who says, And it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him. Mark chapter 15, verse 25. We shall consider as we can, if the Lord please, when we are come to the passage itself where his crucifixion is recorded. When Pilate, therefore, had sat down before the tribunal, he said unto the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Shall I crucify your king? As yet he tries to overcome the terror with which they had inspired him about Caesar, by seeking to break them from their purpose on the ground of the ignominy it brought on themselves with the words, Shall I crucify your king? When he failed to soften them on the ground of the ignominy done to Christ, but by and by he is overcome by fear. For the chief priest answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. For he would have every appearance of acting against Caesar if, on their declaration that they had no king but Caesar, he were wishing to impose on them another king by releasing without punishment one whom, for these very attempts they had delivered unto him to be put to death. Therefore he delivered him unto them to be crucified. But was it then anything different that he had previously desired when he said, Take you him and crucify him? Or even earlier still, Take you him and judge him according to your law? And why did they show so great reluctance when they said, It is not lawful for us to put any man to death? Chapter 18, verse 31. And were in every way urgent to have him slain, not by themselves, but by the governor, and therefore refused to receive him for the purpose of putting him to death, if now for the same purpose they actually do receive him? Or if such be not the case, why was it said, Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified? Or is it of any importance? Plainly it is. For it was not said, Then delivered he him therefore unto them that they might crucify him, but that he might be crucified. That is, that he might be crucified by the judicial sentence and power of the governor. But it is for this reason that the evangelist has said that he was delivered to them, that he might show that they were implicated in the crime from which they tried to hold themselves aloof. For Pilate would have done no such things save to implement what he perceived to be their fixed desire. The words, however, that follow, and they took Jesus and led him away, may now refer to the soldiers, the attendants of the governor, for it is more clearly stated afterwards, when the soldiers therefore had crucified him. Chapter 19, verse 23. Although the evangelist properly does so even when he attributes the whole to the Jews, for they it was that received what they had with the utmost greediness demanded, and they it was that did all that they compelled to be done. But the events that follow must be made the subject of consideration in another discourse.